Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome in. Boy, do we have a great program coming up here next. We have got Dick and Constance Borghi, and they're going to be exposing the Watchtower tonight. And they've been doing a really good job here on the 6 screens, and they have got a special guest tonight. Friends, don't you leave this program. You've got to hear Sharon. Sharon has been on numerous times before, but you have to hear how much problems the Watchtower has caused this woman. She'll be coming in and talking about it tonight. So let's bring Dick and Constance on right now. We've been having some video issues, but they're coming on now. We're going to bring them on stage. There they are right now. Hello, Dick and Constance.
Hello, Rick.
Hi there.
So anyways, we can't get them on video, but we can hear them. And so we're looking forward to your program tonight, Dick and Constance. So from what I understand, you have Sharon. I believe now she's in Virginia. Is that correct?
Yes, she's in Virginia.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to what she has to say. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn the program over to you, but I'm here if you need me. I'll be watching things and making sure things go smooth. So hold on one second, Mark. Now is not the time to come on. You hold on. In a little while you can come on. So let me just mute you right now. So let's do that. So Dick and Constance, I'm going to drop out. I'm here if you need me, and do the program.
Thank you, Rick. Good evening, everybody. It's the Dick and Connie show, and we have a special guest, Sharon Murray. And as Rick just alluded to, she's now living in
Virginia,
but she still maintains her New York accent. And I'd like to say we missed our audience 2 weeks ago. We had a hurricane blow through South Carolina and North Carolina, as you probably heard on the news. And I think that's probably the reason why we're not having video right now is because we're having problems with the internet.
Yeah. At least we have sound.
But
we were warned by Spectrum that there might be problems. So
yeah.
I'm almost sure that's what's going on.
So, when we do a program, we usually focus on a particular subject, whether it's this fellowshipping or did Jesus die on a torture stake or the governing body or disfellowshipping. And then we'll make our program revolve around our topic. Mm-hmm. So tonight what we did is we changed it up a little bit. And we're going to hit on a lot of different topics. But the reason we're doing that is because we want people to call in who have never called in on 6 screens before. A first-time caller. That's what we're looking for. So if somebody wants to come on 6 screens, this program is ideal for that. And I can tell you from doing 6 screens for about 20 years and having programs on it for many years, that every time that I finish with a program, I feel absolutely great. I sleep like a baby. I feel a great feeling of accomplishment because I got the Watchtower monkey off my back. So what we're going to talk about, we're going to start by asking the audience, do you believe the Holy Spirit directs this cult? In lieu of a better word, do you really think the Holy Spirit directs it? The governing body members have told us 2 things. From one side of their mouth, they say, we are not inspired. Then on the other side of their mouth, what do they say? You better listen to us as if your life depends upon it, because it does. Now, why would you listen to old men? If they're not very well educated, why would you listen to them if they are not inspired? I wonder if anybody has any. To me, that's a real biggie. It doesn't seem to get a whole lot of play. I bring it up every year or so. And I tell a story when I first got involved with this particular subject. I was a ministerial servant, and servants and elders would meet with the traveling overseer in the back room. And he come up with this idea, or the Watchtower did, governing body more likely, came up with the idea that we disfellowship people that are obese. So what's the definition of obese? 50 pounds overweight. So Watchtower is very, very concerned about image. They want all the guys, three-piece suits, all the women in dresses. Now I know they've changed that, but that's what they wanted when I was in. And I get disfellowship in the 1990s, so that's how far back that goes. They wanted you to be clean shaven. I was given a little talk to about my sideburns were too long, and I wore a pink shirt, under a jacket and tie. One of the elders didn't think that was appropriate, so they were always trying to do. Image was so important to them, but their image is very much tarnished. All the false prophecies, the pedophilia thing, they're compromising on the blood issue. It goes on and on and on. But again, what we're looking for tonight is a first-time caller. Love to have, it would really make my night if someone who's been listening to Six Screens, let's say years or even months, doesn't matter, muster up the courage to come on. Go ahead, brother. You have a thought? Somebody was going to comment?
Oh, Mr. Dick Borgie, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah.
To hear.
That's Mark.
Dick, yeah, this is Mark Taft. You may remember me from the past, a few shows.
Okay.
I believe I've talked with you a few times. I'm the guy in Chicago, Illinois. Do you have any recollection by good chance at all?
Well, it's nice to have you on, Mark. We deal with a lot of different callers, so if I can't put a face to it, most of the time I can't. I probably won't remember, but
I do.
my wife remembers. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yep.
What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I hope you're doing very well in every good and positive way. You got some strong points here about the Watchtower. And one thing I'd like to say about the Watchtower, from my personal opinion, but also from my actual experience in being in the Watchtower and the Jehovah's Witnesses. And maybe you noticed this too, Dick. And you may agree, you may not. If you don't, that's okay. But what I've noticed is them, they keep changing things all the time, changing their policies, changing rules, changing this, that, and the other, like they're stumbling around in darkness. And I'd say that they definitely are. No question, stumbling around in darkness, right? And it's just a joke how they just got it. First they have these rules about this, and then they change them, and that's happened just way too many times over the many decades, years and decades of the Watchtower. Have you noticed that?
Oh, we certainly have.
Oh, of course, I think most people have. And also, one other thing I wanted to point out, that in my experience too, from what I've seen of Jehovah's Witnesses. And like I said, you may not agree with me, but I'm just telling you the truth to my own personal experience, that a lot of them, and I've had this discussion many times, that I remember with both Dan Clark, Tom Hodson, and Rick, that they think they're above the law. The laws don't apply to them. They're above the law. They can do what they want to do, break the law. They want to get away with it, because a lot of them have their attitude and their mentality and just their behavior, is so screwed up. And I'd say, in my personal opinion, a lot of them, as you probably know, have issues with alcohol, like me, issues with alcohol, and also with like prescription pharmaceutical drugs, no question about that. Mm-hmm. And also, I'd say, in my personal experience, a lot of them are not just abusive and bullies, but they're narcissists. They're narcissists, and they're sociopaths, and that was my personal experience with them. Okay, and and I've never saw any real love in the Watchtower. I never saw any real love in the Jehovah's Witnesses, like zero. And if there was any love, it was very, very limited. It was like conditional love, as we call it. I'm sure you want to be, conditional love. So that was my experience, whether you had the same or similar one, maybe, maybe not, but that was my experience with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's what I believe, how they are, who they are, and what they are, just, and the way they are. That's what I personally believe. Okay. So,
Right.
so I said what I need to say. If you have any feedback to that, I'd be glad to hear it.
Okay, brother. Well, I concur with you 100%. They're two-faced. They'll come up with one regulation, one rule, and then they'll change it. But the scary thing is, Jehovah's Witnesses, they just, their brains doesn't pick up on it. When there's a complete change, for an example, at one time in the congregations, you had anointed brothers, okay? And they were the discreet slave. And everybody said, oh, this brother so-and-so takes the emblems. He's super spiritual. He is going to rule in heaven with Jesus, and he's going to direct things here on the earth. He is going to be a king priest. Okay. And then they go, well, you know what? Somewhere 20 years ago, I guess, the anointed aren't the discreet slave anymore. It's just these, sometimes it's 8, 9, sometimes 10, these bozos that call themselves the governing body. And I think it's Stephen Lett. This guy's wearing a pinky ring, or he's wearing a ring. He's a Freemason. And me and Connie have done programs on Freemasons, and it's a cult, and it's not spiritual, it's not Christian. It appears that way, just like the Watchtower appears to be Christian. But when you look under the rocks of the Watchtower, under the Watchtower Foundation, you find some really nasty stuff. I mean, you look at the founder, C.T. Russell. What was he doing? He was fooling around with a 14-year-old girl, caused a divorce. He tried to cheat his wife out of alimony. He sold this wheat, this horrible wheat that barely grew, as miracle wheat, and he sold for $1 a pound. It was a lot of money back in, I think it was the 20s or 30s. It was a lot of money. And it didn't, the scandal after scandal, and Rutherford comes along. He's known to be a drunk, a womanizer. He took Watchtower money and bought a house called Best Serene in San Diego. And he said, well, this is for the saints of old, Isaac, Jacob, the whole clan. And when they didn't show up, because he lived there, he lived in his own little mansion. The guy had a 16-cylinder Cadillac, 2 of them. One in New York and one in San Diego. They lived high in the hog. Watchtower is loaded with scandals. When we tell people this, some of them, it just water off a duck's back. They just, okay, but it's still the truth.
Right. I agree with you, Dick. I had no respect at all for either of them, especially Rutherford. He was living high in the hog while everybody else was living poor and had almost nothing. While he's living this rich, wealthy, millionaire lifestyle, the lifestyles of the rich and famous he's living. What the hell's that all about? I just had, that just really, really pissed me off when I learned about him. Let me tell you.
And things haven't changed. That was a depression. Depression was 29. It's probably around 1930 or so, somewhere around there. He's got 216 cylinder cat. And you know what? Things haven't changed. Look at Jeffrey Jackson. He's driving a $500,000 Bentley. And where do you get the money? That's what.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that's how they are. That's how they are.
Okay.
Yes,
So
they are. That's very good, Dick. That's very good. You're 100% correct. I think you don't have any disagreements with anything I had to say about the Jehovah's Witnesses, but if you do, please tell me.
No, I concur with you 100%.
okay, Mark, we wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. We actually do have a guest on tonight, and her name is Sharon Murray. And Sharon had been a born and raised JW, Many of her family members, of course, were Jehovah's Witnesses. Many still are. Her father was a presiding overseer. Her mother and father were both JWs. Anyway, and the thing about Sharon, she and I, we found each other on Facebook. And anyway, we've been friends for a long time. And anyway, she was in the organization for 53 years, and she was able to leave. So, Mark, if you'd be kind enough to mute yourself so that she can come on.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
And thank you,
for your
dear.
time. You take good care, and God bless you in every way. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Mark.
And Sharon, we'd like to have you come on.
You're welcome.
Just *6. Are you there? Sharon?
Here now.
Hello there. We can hear you. Hi there. Okay, dear. So anyway, I was just saying that, you know, we've became friends. We met each other on Facebook and gave a little bit of background information on you, that you were born and raised at JW. Both your parents were JWs. Your father's a PO. And anyway, you were in the organization for 53 years. You know, sis, that surpasses even Rick Farron. He was in for 50 years, and you're in for 53 years. Yeah. So
Wild, and Eddie and I just celebrated our 52 years of being married.
wow. Oh, honey, congratulations. Well, Sharon, if you can explain, honey, I'm from California. My husband's from Massachusetts, and you're from New York. I love that New York accent.
Long Island.
Yes, yes. Okay, so, you know, just take it away. Give a little bit of background about yourself, Sharon, and really what woke you up, you know, because our audience is very diverse now, a lot of new people listening in. And sometimes, well, there was an interesting, I'll just say this, there was an interesting, someone who posted on Reddit, and I won't give out a lot of information. But anyway, you can read Reddit and you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he was a brother, or is a brother, and he has woken up and he's like at the crossroads. You know, he's really questioning the organization, and he actually has been doing research, and he knows it's not true. And so anyway, he's married and he loves his wife, and he also has a few friends that he loves. Mentioned he came from a very dysfunctional family, which many people have, including Jehovah's Witnesses. And he is at the crossroads where he wants to leave, but he doesn't want to lose his wife and this very small support system he has. And I got on there and read it, and I told him about 6 screens and mentioned how, you know, we're a huge community worldwide, and you will definitely not be alone, and we're here to support you and help you. So our purpose in bringing Sharon on tonight is Sharon was born and raised a JW. Now, that's a totally different world than a convert, which is who I was, and Rich. And 53 years is a very, very long time to be in the organization. So Sharon, you know, I'll let you just take it from here, whatever you feel comfortable saying, and maybe perhaps really what woke you up, because people need to have a plan or a strategy, right, in order to leave the organization. Do you hear me, Sharon?
It depends on,
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, honey, I can hear you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It depends on how the person is.
Right.
Because some people won't be very rash like I am. Like, I speak very fast and I'll say things off the cuff and whatever. Those kind of people like me are you're going to hit a lot of hurdles if you do what happened to me. The night that I woke up, let me just start it there. The night that I woke up, it was 3 announcements from the podium. The first one was somebody got this fellowship, somebody close to me. And I was the only one who got upset. Okay. I was so upset that I had to go to the ladies' room. I broke down in there, and I was very upset about it. Well, anyway, when I went back to my seat, the sister who had brought me to the Kingdom Hall that night had a little note for me, and it said, "We do not grieve the disfellowship ones." I still have that note. And it was really upsetting because from what I remember, teachings from the Bible, when somebody left the true God, they ripped their clothes and sat in the ashes. Then the second one was, no researching. And that really struck a chord with me because now that I'm gone, I like to research everything.
Right.
And the third announcement was, send all your money, the IRAs, 401ks, retirement funds, estate, and all that, send that all to Watchtower. And I could see all these people shaking their head, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is like 1975 all over again.
Right. Now, what year, Sharon, what year was that so the audience can follow you on this?
In 1970, for the year 1975, when we were in Yankee Stadium, there was an announcement, and I remember it specifically because we were up in the mezzanine where all the pigeons were, and when the guy said September 5th at sunset, the great Battle of Armageddon will begin. The applause was so thunderous that all the pigeons took off into the air.
Oh, wow.
Like such a memory stamper on your brain.
Right, right.
So yeah. So
But
that
I meant, excuse me, let me just back up. What I was trying to ask you, honey, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. When you were at the Kingdom Hall that night, and the third thing you said, they were asking for the money and 401ks and jewelry. What I was asking you, honey, is what year was that? What year was it that you woke up?
December 5th, 2012.
2012.
December
Right.
5th. It was my granddaughter's birthday.
Right. Okay. And for many of us that went through 1975, we're totally aware of how Watchtower wanted people's money and their homes, and people donated them. So now you're 2012 and you're sitting there in the Kingdom Hall, and it was like a total trigger bringing you back to 1975.
Yeah, I felt like somebody slapped me physically awake.
Uh-huh.
It was such a jolt to reality. It was like, boom. I just couldn't believe that I was hearing it again. And sometimes I'm a very rash person. So I went home and I started researching. And I just kept researching and researching. And it just made me say, no, this is not it. This is not it. So I guess people could tell by the way I talk, I am a very fast talker. So the first phone call I made after I got all this information, how evil this organization is, and from my own experience growing up in that evil, it all made perfect sense. But the first phone call I made was to my daughter-in-law, and in about 30 seconds, I told her everything I found out over the past 10 days of research. In 30 seconds, I told her. And it just snowballed from there with me exposing that organization as much as I can.
Right, right. And once you really learn about it, first of all, it's a very big shock. Like I always say, it's a very big pill to try to swallow. And you have to take it really in increments, little baby steps, because it's so overwhelming that we were so indoctrinated, and people today who are in are still indoctrinated, saying it's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth. And it's that indoctrination and all that propaganda. And it's like an onion. Wouldn't you agree, Sharon? It's like an onion. You just have to peel it layer by layer by layer by layer by doing your own research. And there's so many incredible YouTubers out there. And so, and oh my gosh, once you wake up, once you really, really wake up with the evidence and the truth, you know, the pedophiles, the child sex abuse, the database from Erwin Zalkin, the attorney down there in San Diego, and He sued the governing body members, and they were charged $4,000 a day. They still would not turn over their whole entire database. They still haven't to this day. It's like, what in the world are they hiding? And they truly don't want the average JW, which we call a rank and file, to know the deep, dark secrets of this organization.
No, but they can't hide it forever.
That's right.
Because memories get triggered, and you have your own memories that come to light.
Yes.
From conversation, something will trigger your own memory.
Sure. I said to this
about the other day,
yes,
with this pedophilia garbage.
Okay.
I know a lot of people have heard me say this before on Rick's show, but my mother was a pedophile, and I turned her in to the elders because I was so stupid at that point in my life. I didn't think to go to the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, certain things have come to light this week concerning my father. And not to get too much into detail, when we were little kids, I'm just going to say this. When we were little kids, we found my parents. Now they were strict JWs. We found their pornography movies, and it was funny that Rick was talking about them because we talked about it yesterday, Connie.
Yeah.
And how we watched them when we were little kids, but we didn't know what it was. We thought it was funny.
Right. Well, your children, honey.
And my parents. Yeah, we were kids. What did we know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They were grooming you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying they were grooming you.
I don't think they knew that the kids were looking at it, but possibly. But go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm the oldest of 9. So my next sister, she is 10. And what I just said about the pedophilia, this is really hard for me. Because once you know your mother is, she ran away with the guy when he was 15, and then they got married when he was 18. So nobody's going to tell me there's no pedophiles in that organization.
Right. And your mom's age at the time, Sharon, so people can understand why she was a pedophile. How old was your mom when she dated the 15-year-old?
She ran away with was 15, and she was 42 when it happened.
Right.
Sounds like C.T. Russell's messing around with a 14-year-old.
And then they got married 3 years later, but she was still in good standing in the congregation and never disfellowshipped, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I wanted to be sure and make that clear.
Wait, no, I think she was disfellowshipped for a year.
Okay.
And then they were reinstated because it had to do with cash.
Okay.
They live out in the Hampton Bays, and it had to do with cash. I'll just say it like that. I don't want to put anybody in slander in case somebody is listening that knows this whole story.
Right. But for her being disfellowshipped, she was not disfellowshipped for being a pedophile, right?
No.
Right. Okay.
No.
She was disfellowshipped with something else. Okay.
It was for adultery, not the pedophilia. It was for adultery.
Okay, I got you.
Because she committed adultery against my father.
Right. Got it. Mm-hmm.
So that's what it was. And honestly, Connie, I really thought that I never heard of that before.
Right.
When this had happened. So I didn't know that there was predators of children out there. I really didn't. Especially in Watchtower, when it's beat into you that this is the truth,
And squeaky clean, supposedly. I think the average JW does not know that, Sharon. That's the thing that we're really trying to reveal and expose about Watchtower. I was not aware of that at all. And when I left the organization, I've been out almost 40 years. And then I found out through the show here about Candace Conti. Well, lo and behold, Candace Conti was basically in my backyard when I lived in California. And I was able to meet her in person and her mom, So nobody can tell me that Candace Conti is fictional. She's real. I went to her home. At
Yeah.
a gathering. She's real.
Yeah.
And she was the first person that
Right.
Watchtower sued Watchtower, and she succeeded. So go ahead, dear.
Okay. Well, with my mother, when she ran away with that guy,
Yeah.
and I turned her into the brothers, that, like you said before, an onion, it unraveled a layer of, let's see, wife swapping.
Right.
In the
Right.
four congregation, well, one hall, four congregations met in, and there were 16 elders that were removed.
Okay, now, honey, say that again because you have.
Bethel come out.
Yeah, Sharon, you have such a thick accent, and sometimes it gets cut off. I want to be sure the audience heard you. I remember when I was in California, I had heard that there was some congregation, they never did say who it was or where it was, but there was a lot of wife swapping going on. And lo and behold, I meet you and find out it was the congregation you were in all the way in New York, and here you are tonight. So can you tell the audience, honey? Go ahead. Go ahead. What congregation, and give the details.
When I had there was a big meeting called in my living room, and the elders had said that we weren't allowed to talk about this. They had his mother and father and his brother and sister there with all my brothers and sisters and everybody that immediately knew about it.
Right.
So they told us that we weren't allowed to talk about it because it was, slanderous. So I stood up and I said to them, I said, even if it's true, and they said, even if it's true, you'll be disgraced with slander. You cannot mention this in this kingdom hall. So I was like, okay. So I went to a couple of congregations, a couple of towns over, and mentioned it in that congregation. And depending on the Watchtower hotline, it works as quick as, it works very quick. It's almost like the internet back then.
Yeah, wildfire. Okay, but the point I'm trying to ask you, Sharon, is so what was the name of the congregation? Where was it located?
It was Quorum.
Quorum.
It was Quorum.
Okay, where was that located?
Off of 112. Yeah, off of Route 112. Yeah.
Okay, but what city, honey? You're up in Long Island?
Quorum. Yeah, Long Island, Quorum.
Okay, I'm a California girl. Okay, so it's up in Long Island. And how many elders and couples were disfellowshipped? Tell me.
Well, 16 elders were removed. They never gave us the amount of ministerial servants.
Wow. And what is your best guess? How many?
I didn't see them doing anything anymore, like going to the magazine counter and stuff.
But honey, how many people do you have in the congregation at that time? What's your best guess?
Well, in my congregation, there was about maybe 60.
Wow. So they had 16 elders.
Including kids, children.
Wow. So that's a sizable amount of the whole entire congregation that was.
It was a sizable kingdom hall. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but there was 4 congregations meeting in that one hall.
Okay. And it was a total of 16
about
elders.
the Quorum West.
Okay.
That was the one where 16 elders were removed. I didn't know about East or Middle Island or the other one that was meeting in that hall. I didn't know what their removals were.
Right.
I only knew about my removal in my hall.
Right. Right. So that must have really shooken up the congregation big time, huh?
Oh yeah. Big time. You're not kidding. I mean, a lot of the sisters that were disfellowshipped for adultery, they had problems that the elders who had disfellowshipped them were disfellowshipped for the same thing. But with swapping, which was, I guess it's different, swapping adultery. It's the same thing, but I guess when you know the person,
wow,
the kingdom hall, seeing them, can you imagine that?
Yeah, no, I can't, honey.
And then later on, all the little snickering and, like sidelong eye glances, it all made sense after that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and you were in that congregation for how long?
Let me see. 7 years.
Oh boy. Wow, that's a considerable time to be in a congregation. Yeah, a lot going on, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, now that's one thing.
And I sent you that article
Yes.
today on what was
Yes.
going on in the original Kingdom Hall that I went to in Spionk.
Okay, let's share this. The audience is going to really enjoy this. Sharon's got some great testimonies. Okay, so go ahead with this one, Sharon.
Okay. We're in the original Kingdom Hall out on Long Island. It was called Spionk. It was an old church, so it had a lot of windows in it, not like today's cult caves with no windows. So anyway, it was Tuesday night. It was after the, because we had switched from Tuesday and Thursday ministry school to book study. So now we were doing Tuesday night for the ministry school.
Okay.
And we were just getting ready, and this guy busts in, and he's got a gun, and he goes for Artie, the main elder there, the PO. I don't think they called him POs back then. He was just the main elder.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he shoots Artie. He shoots Ann, his wife. She got hit in the face, but she was okay. It just, she got a bullet in the face.
Wow.
And yeah. And then he got locked up. 4 elders knocked him down to the ground, and he got locked up. And then all of a sudden, that story just disappeared.
Okay, now let's slow down here.
Newsday about it, nothing.
Okay, so let's slow down, honey, so that everybody understands what happened. Okay, so this was a congregation you were in, and it was called Spionk in Long Island. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the elders' name was Arthur Arch, right?
Artie, yeah.
They called him Artie, but his name was Arthur Arch, A-R-C-H.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And his wife's name was, they said Martha, but she went by what? Ann?
Mary?
Her name was Ann. Nobody called her Martha. She hated that name.
Okay, so her name was Ann. So this brother Arch, or Artie, was his nickname for his first name, was having an affair with another sister in the congregation, correct?
Yes, he was comforting her. That's what they called it, comforting.
Mm-hmm. So she was married, and this was her husband. This was her husband that came in with the gun to basically take out the elder for sleeping around with his wife, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And were you at the meeting that night?
Yes. Yeah, we were there. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So how did that feel, Sharon? Holy mackerel.
Well, we were all really, really scared because we thought it was the end of the world. Somebody coming in with a gun, you know, that's what we thought. But no, it had to do with Artie.
Yeah. So Artie was shot in the arm, and his wife was shot in the face.
Yeah.
It's surprising.
And got shot in the face.
Yeah. And then there were like 4 brothers that tackled him down, huh? To the ground?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So,
yeah, elders. Yeah.
So then what happened after that? I mean, of course, he had charges of attempted murder and everything, but whatever happened between, the attempted murder and his wife, what happened afterwards?
Ann and Artie, they stayed together, and they went on to start the Shackley Empire.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was huge.
Yeah, I think that was a reason why, he didn't get into trouble, because in the news article, as you read, it said that he was disfellowshipped at that meeting. That was a lie. He was not disfellowshipped.
Okay, so let's explain that to the audience, honey, because they don't know what you're talking
cover
about.
up here.
Okay, what happened is that Sharon, if you want to look this up, friends, write this down. Sharon just basically Googled famous Jehovah's Witness divorces. That's right. And so it popped up. She found it, and it's called New York versus Cornell Davis. Cornell, like Cornell University. Cornell Davis, Davis. And this took place in 1984 to 1985. Yep. So did his wife and him though get divorced, or what happened, Sharon?
No, they never got divorced. No,
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's
no.
amazing.
And they had two sons that had died. One had died of a brain tumor, little Al, and their son Dane. In 1969, I was 13, and they went to an assembly in Canada, and he drowned. And instead of them, really didn't sit well with me, even way back then. Instead of them sitting, or going down to the coroner's office,
Right.
they went to the assembly.
Well, I remember you
I
brought
remember
that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were supposed to be exemplary, remember, at the assembly.
Yes, they were the exemplary family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean,
So
they had their own problems.
right. So let's go back to you. You certainly have seen a lot being in the organization for 53 years, but I think everybody leaves for different reasons, but I do think there's some definite common denominators. One of them is hypocrisy. The other one is the lack of love that you just don't see in the organization when you're in it long enough. And third enough, they just hold everybody back. Everybody is looking to the future rather than enjoying their life right now. Everything's on hold. There's a tremendous amount of mental illness, a lot of depression.
Just exist.
They're just existing. Sharon.
There's no living or life.
Right, exactly. That's why I said to this one brother that was on Reddit, I said, there's a point, because he's in, but it's like he's a PMO and he really wants to leave, is what he said in his comment. But he's staying in right now because he really loves his wife. And there are people that he loves, which means in the congregation. My guess, maybe family members, okay, or close friends. But anyway, he came from a very dysfunctional family. And if he left the organization, he stated he wouldn't have any support. Well, that's why I was telling him about the show. Okay, so this is my point. I said to him, I told him about the show. I said, there's a lot of love, a lot of support worldwide. But I said, you can only have that split mind where you are physically in, but mentally out. I call that a split mind. You can only have that for a very temporary time in your life.
Otherwise, you go crazy.
Because if you do that for a very lengthy period of time, it will definitely cause serious ramifications with your mental health. And you will will split your mind. And and then
I'm very different. I don't believe I could have ever been a PMO. I don't think I could have ever done it. Those people need a lot of kudos, because I couldn't do it. My face would not let me be a part of something knowing what they really are. My face would get in the way. There's no way.
Right. Well, then you get to a point. I mean, I know myself. Yeah. I know myself, Sharon. I got to a point where.
So I would just.
Oh, go ahead, honey. Go ahead. We're talking over. Go ahead, love.
No, it's okay. I just, it's when I woke up in that Kingdom Hall, December 5th, 2012.
Yeah.
I was really scared because I didn't know what was going to happen from that moment of waking up. I didn't know. And I didn't know that I was waking up. I just know I felt like I was slapped. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then after I did all this research, and I saw exactly what they are, there was no way that me, I could stay in knowing what I knew. I just couldn't.
Well, you get to a point where you have to be authentic to yourself. That's what I was going to say. You can't.
Because to me, when I realized what was going on, it was like their love for me was hostage love.
You got broken off. Their love for you was what, Sharon?
Garbage.
Garbage? Okay, yeah.
Hostage. You know, like Stockholm.
Hostage. Yeah, hostage. That's a good way to put it, Sharon. It really is. It's emotional blackmail.
Do you want to be authentic in your life? Do you want the feelings you're getting to be authentic or not?
Right. Right.
If you don't want authentic feelings, go be an actor.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's like Watchtower owns and controls you like a pimp. They have absolute control over you. They tell you everything you can do and what you can't do. They own you. And their little way of owning you is basically, well, it's the new system, or it's going to be the heavenly hope.
Yeah.
But they're like your pimp. And God forbid you step out, you will be abused or even killed. Well, in this sense, with Watchtower, they use that fear.
Look at the giant thumb that we were under. We couldn't be normal. We couldn't just be children. We couldn't be young adults. We couldn't be normal teenagers. We had this giant thumb on us watching everything we did.
Right, right.
How do you know any of those people were your real friends? You don't. Because once an announcement is made from the podium, that's when you know who your real friends are.
Right. That's very true. Everybody disowns everybody at that point. Like Anne Marie was saying with their show earlier, Sharon, I was telling you that little boy, he was 9 when he got baptized, which is totally insanity. And then by the time he was 12, he had a little mind of his own, and he just was not going to apologize to his parents. This was on Anne Marie's show tonight. And so he was disfellowshipped. The elders called him in, and he was not sorry and for his attitude. So he was disfellowshipped, and everyone in his family, of course, were witnesses. Now, this is the cruel part. So he's only 12 years of age, right? Remember when you're back in 12, you're 12, you're like in 6th grade. You're just getting ready to become a teenager, right? You're just become, 13, you're a teeny bopper. He's 12 and he's disfellowshipped, and his parents put him like in ice. These are my words, like solitary confinement. What do I mean by that? Well, he had to stay in his room. He couldn't come out in the living room and socialize with the rest of the family. He couldn't sit down and have a meal with the rest of the family. He had to stay in his room. I'm telling you, if CPS knew this, those parents would be yanked out and have that kid taken away from them for abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so cruel. And then if this goes on for a long period of time, couple of years, who knows? I mean, what's the damage it's going to do to this young man?
And you wonder why so many people have committed suicide in this organization.
It's disgusting. Yeah. And Sharon, you even said that you've known witnesses that were in a similar situation like this, right?
Yes. I know 2 girls. One was baptized at 6. The other one was baptized at 7. The 7-year-old was disfellowshipped by the time she was 17, but the 6-year-old got baptized by the time she was 13. So when you were telling me about the kids sleep, have to eat in the room, that's why I said it with you. They got to eat in the room. There is no socialization after that. You are dead. Even if you're a little child, you're dead.
Right. And so what are the effects of those 2 young girls when they were treated that way? What happened to them, Sharon?
They became sluts.
Well, and then they were very isolated, right? They just pulled in inwardly.
Once they got 18, they left the house. They became sluts. Yeah.
Oh, well, they're looking for love, right? In all the wrong places.
Beautiful girls.
Yeah, they didn't get it at home from their parents because the parents were very dysfunctional because of what Watchtower teaches them.
Yeah.
So they're going out looking for it somewhere else, right? But so there's a lot of damage. So, if someone's going to be leaving the organization, we'd like to try to give them some ideas. You have to have a plan. That's what I said on this Reddit post. I said, don't rush into anything. And other people said the same thing. You have to take it slowly, and you have to have an exit plan, and you have to think about it very carefully, very, very carefully. But, Sharon, maybe if you have some ideas about how people can leave the organization if they have a plan. And the other thing I'd like to hear from you, since you've been out of the organization, how many years now?
12. It'll be 12 years, December 5th.
Okay, so can you tell the audience how the last 12 years have been since you left the organization? And also, you were not disfellowshipped, disassociated, or anything, right? Nothing. Period.
Nope.
Nothing. Right.
I walked out and nothing ever. I think because I knew too many things and I have a pretty big mouth. I think they were afraid of me for a long time because my brother, number 4, he was disfellowshipped almost 40 years ago. And I used to take him in my house, whenever he was passing through a girlfriend, I would take him in. And my father would make sure whatever congregation I was in, that those elders knew that I had a disfellowshipped, sibling living with me. And they would pull me in the back and I would say to them, didn't Christ say that we had to take care of the least of us? And if the disfellowshipped person isn't the least, who is? Because my mind was Watchtower. So I never thought about homeless people, which is horrible for me to even think about that now that I didn't think about them. But your mind is focused on witnesses. You don't think about anybody because you're not in that part. Exactly, honey. You're not in the world. You're not supposed to be in the world anyway. Right. So make sure that I was always being hauled in with the elders, but it's just all the stuff that I know about them. And I have people that were from my old congregation, both women and men that I knew when they were younger. Some of them I babysat for, and they call me and they tell me that the abuse, the sexual abuse that they went through. Yeah. And I'm blown away by a lot of it. I really am, because I didn't see it. I mean, I didn't see my own mother until I found out. And then, oh my God, Connie, what I told you yesterday, my brother, number 4, tells me that my mother tried with him too, but instead she turned to the kid that she ran away with. Yeah. God, can you imagine what that would have done to him? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of times pedophiles, they groom the children. They groom the children. Yeah. They groom the children. And their main objective is to gain that child's trust, or even gain the parents' trust, So it's like, oh, well, you can have little Susie or Johnny, whatever the case might be, come over to our house over the weekend. And because, they can stay with our kids. And there was that one pedophile that was in California. I could pull it up on my phone. He was horrible. He and his wife, they were married and they had children, and they were very close to another JW couple, and they had children, and the little girls would come over they didn't know he was a pedophile, but he was messing around with them. And then when the father found out, he went on the hunt looking for this, say, so-called brother who was a pedophile, and the guy just ran like crazy. And apparently he loved hot rods. Wow. And he was on the most wanted list by what's that guy's name? John Walsh. Yeah. Walsh. Yeah, on John Walsh show. And they were on the lookout for this JW, and he was running between California and up to Oregon. And he'd go into Kingdom Halls. He still thought he was a witness, but he loved hot rods. He loved cars. He loved to be able to work on cars and so forth. And he loved hot rods. That's what they were. So anyway, then found out, Rick has talked about it, and I even had it on my phone, because if you ever came across him, you could call a certain number, a 1-800 number. And anyway, then found out he ended up on the East Coast, and he died. But he kept changing his name a little bit here and there, and they had a picture of him. Wow. But that's the point. He got to the point where he was a pedophile and he was married,
And yet they were very close. He and his wife were very close to another JW couple. And that was the point I'm trying to make. You know, this second JW couple who had two little girls. Well, the parents thought, oh, you know, this is like auntie and uncle. Sure, you can go over there Saturday night and have a little sleepover with their kids. Had no idea that the guy was a JW pedophile, and he was messing around with their daughters. So, yep, very, very sad. But that's what they do. They groom you. They groom a person so that they can gain your trust. And once they have your trust, then the walls go down. So then things can happen, which is very sad. So the point I'd like to make is
the child will blame themselves.
Yeah, do not let your children go to any sleepovers. I don't care if it's in the Kingdom Hall, or do not let any of your children go to anyone's sleepovers, including Jehovah's Witness sleepovers.
Along with that, you know, some people think, well,
Yeah.
if you're going to sleep over an elder's house, then it's got to be safe. He's an elder. He's a ministerial servant. He's a pioneer. Oh, it'll be fine because he's such a solid person in the religion. Well, let me tell you something. The governing body members right now have been covering up pedophilia for years. They've been exposed. They've been sued, fined, everything else. Do not think just because a person has some kind of a position,
A title,
yeah, you know, whatever it is, that they're solid people, that they would never, ever be pedophiles. Well, think again. We know that Chitty was a pedophile.
They break down your gut instinct. That's what they do. They break it down with a title. Well, he's this, she's that. That's what they do, so that you're questioning your own gut. You know, you don't feel right around this person. Oh, well, he's an elder. Oh, she's a pioneer. Oh, you know, so they're working on the kids in that manner, and the parents.
Yeah.
The parents are just as guilty because they're falling for it too.
Oh,
they're deceived.
Right. Well, and they don't make any announcement in the Kingdom Hall. Like, how many pedophiles did you have in your congregation?
We had 5.
They had 5. And not one announcement was made in Rich's congregation that there were 5 pedophiles. And there were kids. There were several kids in that congregation. In fact, you had one of the pedophiles come over to your house, and you had 2 boys, and you had no idea he was a pedophile. Remember? Now that's pretty darn scary when you look at it. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's he had no idea he was a pedophile.
There was a brother at the Lowell congregation, Jehovah's Witnesses, and he actually went to jail for pedophilia. And I didn't know it till this young man that worked for Rick, Luke, told us about it on 6 Screens. And he used to come over to my house too.
The pedophile.
The pedophile.
Right. And you had no idea.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, right. Of course not.
I didn't.
Yep. But then you think, the elders know who the pedophiles are. And yet to be able to allow them to go door to door, I mean, just think about it. When you are a pedophile, you cannot be in close proximity, like, I don't know what the law is, but it's a certain distance away from children in schoolyards and play yards and so forth. Well, when you go door to door, how many times did you go door to door, and maybe you went to the door with a sister or something, and it was a Saturday morning and mommy and daddy were in bed and little Johnny and Susie came and opened up the door, right? Oh, my mommy and daddy's sleeping, or, whatever, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that the elders know that who the pedophiles are in their congregation, but then yet they still allow them to go door to door. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they don't care about anybody, it looks like.
No, they don't care about anybody. No.
No.
And then
what you were saying before about a plan, I think before anybody tries to leave this organization, the more research they get under their belt,
right,
the stronger they'll feel inside.
Right. That's an excellent point.
That's a real good point.
I sent you that website on the medical. I mean, if they're quacks in medical, how are you going to believe them in religion? They're total quacks.
Yeah, yeah. Can you give the audience a little background on what you're talking about there?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me because I'm in the bedroom. If I go in the living room, it'll pick up all the background noise
Okay,
from the
okay,
computer.
okay. But this was information back in what, 1913,
23. It was from the golden age.
23. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it had some
Think about
weird.
it this way. This is the time that they were trying to establish a religion, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
they're going to throw a little medical advice on top of that, and it's all going to get exposed as all crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nuts.
Well, the thing is,
What we were
Sharon,
reading yesterday, it's crazy.
well, it is, but you see, the average JW today
Doesn't know it.
doesn't know anything about that. And there was a period of time, a few years back, that Watchtower decided, well, we have all this information in writing, and we have to get rid of all this evidence of what we used to teach. And we'll come up with some excuse saying, well, just brothers and sisters, turn in your old literature, your old books
Yeah,
and
we
so
gotta
forth.
make a museum.
Right.
So
And
they get 3 million, the truth that leads to everlasting life. They want all of them off the shelves, and they want to control them again.
well, everything, Rutherford's
everything,
books,
yeah.
everything, because, they don't want people today to really know what they taught back in yesteryear.
Don't bother doing any research. We've done
Right.
it all for you.
Mhm. Right. Now beware of that, anybody
Right.
that teaches that.
And don't go on sick
Arguing
streams.
with
Don't go on YouTube.
SJW in one of the groups, and she said to me, they have enough problems. Why do you got to go all the way back in their history and bring that up? And I said to her, I said, well, since they like to use the Bible as their basis, I said, did not Christ say that you will know by their fruit? And where does the fruit come from? The roots. No
That's-
rotten tree will grow good fruit. So unless you know the fruit of this, the roots of this organization, you're going to get sucked back in again.
That's right.
Well said. Well said.
Right.
Exactly.
You're going to leave. You've got to know about them.
Well, and then also, we're instructed to be like the Bereans, to really do your research and study. Just don't take something because of someone's word. And that's what Watchtower does. They don't want anybody to do research because they're terrified of people really understanding who they truly are. And they're not even really a religion. They're a corporation. And when people really realize that, then it's like, oh my word, now what? So if they're a corporation, how can you claim that you have, which we said earlier, how do you claim you have God's Holy Spirit when you are a corporation? A corporation's main objective is profit.
Make money.
It's profit. Okay. But they use this
I
disguise.
had asked active JWs
Yeah.
after I share that stockholder thing with them,
Yeah.
that they are not a religious, that they are a corporation. So because I can be snarky sometimes, I will ask them after sharing that,
Yeah.
which piece of property and what book are you putting your life down on the line for?
Mhm.
Is it Park Avenue? Is it Gone with the Wind? Because it's the same thing. You're fooling around with a business. This is not religion. Let me tell you the hate I get.
Well, I'm sure, because people don't want to hear that, right? Yeah.
No.
But then the thing is, see, this is what we're trying to do, Sharon, is trying to help people to wake up, because, the Jehovah's Witnesses, there's so many good people that are JWs. But the thing is, are you going to live your life in a fairy tale? I mean, really, just in a complete fairy tale and disown, like,
Yeah, but when you find out what they're hiding, how can you stay?
exactly. Well, you
How can
can't.
say you're good. How can you say you're good when you find out what they're hiding?
Right. That's very true.
Sharon, and the audience, I just want to say this about that.
Yeah.
I think Anne Marie brought it to our attention about 6 months ago, maybe a year, that the number one desire in people's hearts and minds is to be accepted. It has more play than being loved, having sex, being rich, anything else.
Mhm.
Number one thing that people want is acceptance. So when you come into a JW, they tell you you're the elite of the elite. You're going to live on a paradise earth. Everything is going to be wonderful. You can trust the elders, they're godly people. The governing body are inspired by Almighty God. Almighty God speaks directly to the governing body, so you can trust everything that happens with them. But when you do a little history, you do your due diligence on this organization,
Right.
go back to C.T. Russell. It's loaded with scams, Miracle Wheat, for example, right from the beginning. Scams, scams, scams. Give me your money, give me your money. And one of the things that Six Screens is doing, and others too on YouTube, Dan and Angela, for example, is we're warning people.
Mhm.
Here's what you need to be warned of.
Mhm.
They're selling off your Kingdom Halls, and they're going to be selling more of them off. And they're already doing a video at the circuit assemblies, where they see the signs that says Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses coming down. And then they show people going to private homes and having book studies there.
Oh, that's that video.
Yeah,
they had.
and then they have the cops looking for them, and they somehow escape with Jehovah's Spirit, and they get in the car with their go bag, and they go off into the horizon, and in the horizon, there you see the dove, flying above, like this is Holy Spirit taking you to a safe place. What's going to happen when you get to that place, it's going to be like a FEMA camp, and they're going to tell you, Jehovah knows what you own. Jehovah wants you to take all your liquidity in your house or your mortgage. Everything you have in your house, and give it to them. All your 401ks, your jewelry, you're not going to need it. Give it to the Watchtower. And then these governing body members, they're going to do just like the Gestapo did at the end of World War II. They're going to go hiding someplace where you can't find them because they have money to pay off crooked politicians and the cops. That's what's good. That's what's going to be happening. I can almost guarantee it. And Six Screens and others out there, we're trying to give a warning so these people, these Jehovah's Witnesses, don't get destroyed, because that's what Satan wants. He wants people destroyed. That makes him happy. And he'd love to, and the angel of light, Satan the devil, often appears as an angel of light. So we want people to be warned that what they're trying to do is they want the equity in your house. If you don't own it, do a reverse mortgage or something, but give the money to the Watchtower, and they will take care of everybody. They have a secret plan, but they can't tell you what it is. Okay? It's not like the politicians of today.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then what they do now is that when you have an elderly brother or sister, they're like a vulture going in for the kill, and the elders,
Yeah.
and they have their paperwork, and
At
they,
least 10 elderly women that were put in a nursing home after they signed their estates away
there you
in
go.
the Middletown congregation in Delaware.
That's criminal. That's absolutely criminal. And that just says so much about Watchtower, because a lot of times when people are elderly, especially if they're women,
Like
they don't have their husbands anymore.
5 months, the pioneers will go visit them, for time because they haven't been at the meeting.
Right.
That's what was going on in the last congregation I left.
Right. Well, it's like a lot of sisters, if they're married, a lot of times, the women outlive their husbands. And then as they get older, it's not unusual for JWs, many of them, not to have children. And then if you have Alzheimer's, and then you have these elders come by trying to act like they're very loving, and they want you to sign over your home. You're not quite sure what you're doing because your mental faculties are really diminished with Alzheimer's or dementia. I mean, it's criminal.
Worldly, they're not going to be allowed there.
Oh, no. No, they're not.
Worldly. They won't be allowed there with the elderly person. I have
No.
seen that happen.
Yep. Yep. It's very sad. They're like a bunch of snakes.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. You know, Sharon, another thing I was going to say, we're just talking about a lot of different ideas to really have people think tonight. So, you know, this is one thing, honey, I'd love for you to share to the audience. Can you explain what an angel box or a spirit box is? And the reason why I'd like you to bring this up is because I had never heard it until you said it a few years ago. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses believe, now this is the key, they believe that they have God's Holy Spirit. That was like drilled into us. Oh, he's an appointed elder because
Holy Spirit.
of Holy Spirit. He was an appointed ministerial servant because of Holy Spirit. Well, now they've changed that, right? Now they don't believe that they have God's Holy Spirit. But could you go back, you know, because I've always said Watchtower is very, very dark, and they are tied in with the occult. And I know people get offended, but if you really are a person who loves truth and righteousness, you will really listen to what we're saying. And if you don't, then it says a lot about you as a person, that you don't love real truth and righteousness. You just want to believe the lies and live your life wasting it away in this deep, dark, evil cult. So could you explain to them, honey, what an angel box or spirit box is in your experience in the congregation and what that was all about?
It was the Spion congregation, and like I said before, it was one of the first Kingdom halls on Long Island, out on the East End. And in my hall, there was 14 anointed people, and they all had white hair, okay? Only they were allowed to touch this box, okay? It was near where the music was, with the speakers and whatnot. We had two closets. One was near the piano, and the other one was near the magazine, where the things were.
Mm-hmm.
This box was where the music was, and I never liked going near it because it gave me the heebie-jeebies. Anyway, after the Sunday talk, now this wasn't every Sunday, okay? And this is when I was a kid, so it was up until maybe 1971, I believe. That's how long we had that box. And they would bring it out after the talk for the Watchtower, and it would make a loud, like, wind whisper. I can't describe it any better than that. And it would talk about, you know, when the end was coming, Armageddon, all like horror things it would talk about. And then it would just stop. Now, this box, you would think with it talking like that it would have a lot of like instruments in it. But it was like as light as a pillow. It was only a box.
Mm-hmm. There was nothing electronically hooked up to it. No wires or anything like that.
No working components in it. No.
Right.
And the spirit box, but us kids, we called it the angel box.
So,
and I remember Rick knew what the actual name was. I can't think of the actual name of what it was, because I was, like I said, I was a kid, and we called it the angel box.
Yeah. Well, maybe Rick will chime in and say what it was, but I picture it looking like a phonograph. That's a box that's a phonograph size. Is that what it looked like, Sharon?
Like a wooden box, and it had a screen, like where the voice would come through. There was a screen there, but it wasn't really a screen. It was like the front of a speaker, like if you take that fabric off.
Right. Got it.
It was like that, but that's it. There was no knobs, no nothing, nothing about this box, except people talk through it. You know, well, not people, but things talk through it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a windy whisper. That is the best way I can describe that.
So do you think everybody in the congregation, even in the back, could hear it, or just primarily the people sitting up front?
Yeah, you could hear it. Even if you were in the bathroom, you could hear it.
Oh, wow.
In the bathroom, it was that kind of windy whisper. There was no place in that kingdom, and we had it upstairs too in this kingdom hall. We had it upstairs where you were able to look. If there was, the whole bottom was empty, people could go upstairs,
right,
and still look down on the podium. It was all open, like old fashioned churches or courtrooms that you see in old movies. It was like that. No matter where you were in that building, you heard that box.
Wow.
No matter where you were.
That's amazing.
What did the congregation say was behind that box? Was it Holy Spirit or something, or what?
The angels.
The angels, okay.
They were communicating with us.
Wow. Now, you know, Sharon, when you mentioned this a few years back on Rick's show, I had never heard of it. So I went on Amazon just to see, you know, if they might possibly sell it. And sure enough, they do. They call them spirit boxes. So you can go on Amazon, you know, their application, and type in spirit box or try angel box, and it has them. People can buy them, but they're demonic. Is the point that we're trying to make?
Components in the ones they're selling now.
What's that?
Is there any electronics or components in it that the ones that they're selling now?
Now that I don't know. I looked at it a few years ago, and it was just showing, you know, the picture of what they look like.
Yeah, the same power that's behind the angel box is the same power that's behind the Ouija board. Same thing, it's Satan.
Yeah.
Because, you know, our Heavenly Father doesn't communicate through a box.
Well, you can understand.
No, he's going to forbid a form of communication. He's not going to turn around and use it.
Exactly. Well, you can understand why John Ramirez has always said, don't live near any kingdom halls or assembly halls, because they're demonic. And this is proof of it. Now, not every congregation had this, but you know, this is a great example of how you have Watchtower tied in with demonic spirits. There is no Holy Spirit's what I'm saying. So if people can really realize that this organization is not inspired by God's Holy Spirit.
No.
And
no.
it's inspired by the
my
devil.
mother was a spirit medium when she was growing up, because my mother's side of the family, they came from Hungary, Budapest. They were gypsies. They came with the tarot cards. They came with everything.
Yes.
And
yes.
the sisters used to come over to my house when I was a kid and have my mother tell stories about the curses she put on people or the cards that she read, what came true. And these are witnesses. These are JW sisters.
Wow. Wow.
They were all into this nonsense. And then, Connie, I told you about that one time my father was up on the Fire Island Bridge and I saw him appear in my mother's mirror.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I don't know if you want to share that, but the point is your mother was definitely involved in the occult, and she was a witness.
Yeah.
No wonder, honey, your family was so crazy. They were crazy. They were really.
Yeah, they were fighting about something. They were always fighting. And my father went down to Fire Island, and I was standing in like the doorway of my mother's bedroom. I could see her bureau with the mirror on top of it, and it got all smoky, and I could see my father on the Fire Island Bridge, and I was like, oh my God. So I left, and I ran upstairs to my brothers, because they slept in the room right above where that just happened. Right. So I ran upstairs to make sure they were okay, and then about maybe, Fire Island was only about maybe 10, 15 minutes away at that time. Right. And traffic-wise, that's what I mean at that time. So my father came in, and I was standing at the top of the stairs, and our living room was, the way our staircase was, when you come down the stairs, you could look into the living room because there was a divider, and it was shelved, so you could see through. And my father came in the front door, and my mother came into the living room, and she looked at him, and she said to him, why didn't you jump? and I saw the blood drain from my father. I never saw that since or ever again. I never, understood that expression, the blood drain from him. Yeah, the blood drain from my father's face.
So do you think she was casting a spell or a curse on her husband?
I don't know what she was doing, but I saw him in the mirror, and she said that to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in the occult, they do use mirrors. I don't know much about it, but that little amount I do know. They use mirrors as part of their practices. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And something else I just thought that I wanted to share with the two things I'd like to share with the audience is, first of all, the term watchtower. I'm not involved in the occult. I don't care to ever be involved in the occult, but I have learned a little bit just searching watchtower. But one thing I'd like to say, the term watchtower is an occult ceremony. Remember that, Rich? We were looking that up.
Yeah.
And it was, I didn't watch it for long, but the guy was talking and he says, this is the watchtower ceremony. And these were people that were really involved in the occult. Now, how appropriate is that for watchtower to use that term, watchtower, that's deeply instilled in the occult? Most JWs would never even tie that together. That's one thing I'd like to say. The other thing I'd like to say is I remember years ago, there was a brother that came on the show, and I'll never forget it. And he said, I was a Bethelite, and he said, I had to go downstairs, it was after midnight. It was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, I had to go, this would be 25 Columbia Heights. Mm-hmm. He said, I had to go downstairs, and I was a security, and I had to go down in the basement, he said. And I had to always just check around every night to be sure everything was safe and sound. And he said, when I got over to this one section that was in the basement, he said it was as you came down the steps. Now, I've never been there, so I can't tell you this. I can just relay the message that he said. He said it was, you came down the steps and it came into the basement. And he said Rutherford, right? Mm-hmm, Rutherford had used that staircase many times. But he said, when I had to do my security check, he said there was the atmosphere in that basement just totally changed. It was really, really cold and creepy in this one particular corner of that basement. And he said, every time I had to go down there and check, he said, I was fine until I got into that one section right below where the stairs are. And, I think there's a lot of truth to that. I really do. Well, let's just talk about this. What about, like you said, Rich, Leo Greenleaf's one of the governing body members. Mm-hmm. He's the one that raped Mark Palo. And where did he rape him?
In the tunnels.
Yeah. He raped him in the tunnels, which is down below under Watchtower, which, is private and secret and so forth. And Mark Palo was about 10 years of age, right?
10.
Yeah. So anyway, this is just information that we'd like to, share with people. And of course, do your own research and find out information for yourself too, because to me, there's nothing worse. I was a true blood JW all the way. And then, you start seeing the lack of love, you start seeing the hypocrisy. College was a real issue for me and so forth. And it really opens up your eyes. And then you start to ask yourself, am I going to stay in this? When you realize it's not really the true organization, okay, when you come to that realization, then you say, am I going to stay in this religion to please everybody else and just go through life, living up to everyone else's expectations? Right. Or am I going to be authentic to myself?
Like I said before, don't research this organization using their own publications and seeing how they have come from the way they were, all the quacky, stupid stuff that they came out with.
Yeah.
And how they have evolved to the whack job they are today. Mm-hmm. Really, to be
Well-
that deceived. They really got the corner on the market of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and the thing is, you know, they're so condescending, degrading to women. And, you know, Samuel Hurd said women use 10% of the brain. I mean, that is so degrading. It's unbelievable. You know, I don't know how anybody can have any self-respect, self-confidence to be a woman in that organization and treated like you're walked over on like a red carpet.
Yeah, I just want to say something about that. It's pathetic. They get, you know, they say, well, back in ancient Israel, you know, the Sanhedrin was corrupt too, just like the governing body. They put Jesus to death. No, not physically, but they were the catalyst for Jesus being put to death. And so this is how they did it back in, women couldn't have any position at all. So we're going to carry forth with that. Well, a lot of things had changed. Back in ancient Israel, I guess if you're a woman. Every phone.
Hello? That's strange.
Can anybody hear us out there?
Hold on 1 second, Nick.
Oh,
Okay.
wow, that was strange.
No, he's okay. We good?
Hold on, Nick. We just gotta get
All
the
right.
telephone line back up for you. It goes off every 6 hours, so we're gonna get that
Oh.
up.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Let us.
Welcome to My One Number. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. If you do. Thank you. There are 11 participants in the conference. Recording did not start because your storage is full. Please log in and delete recordings or purchase more storage from your account.
Send them a message. I'm listening in.
Oh yeah, I'm
I
on
can
my
hear
phone.
music this week.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
Sharon. Okay.
I'm on my phone, and I'm not anywhere near my computer. I don't have a smartphone. I have a
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay, Sharon. It's after 6 hours.
Are muted and they can
Yes.
unmute themselves.
Okay, ready to go?
Oh, I can hear you guys now.
Oh, great,
One
Stefan.
thing
Thank you.
the Watchtower likes to do is they want to go back when it's convenient for them
Mhm.
to ancient Israel.
Yeah,
When Moses was taking them through the desert, there wasn't a governing body. It was just our Heavenly Father
right,
and Moses.
right.
And Moses told the people what God said, and they believed him. A lot of them, they murmured, and they didn't like it. They didn't like being in the desert for 40 years and eating manna all the time, but they did it,
Yeah.
and they got to the promised land. Back in ancient Israel, women were second, third, fourth class citizens. The male was everything. Well, the Watchtower likes to go back there to do that and say, well, a sister can't teach, a sister can't do this, a sister can't do that. They can't have a position. Well, that's stupid, because most of the women that I had known in the 20 years that I was in, they were smarter than most of the guys. They just, even the elders and servants, but they had no position, they had no authority, and a woman is considered very, very poorly in Jehovah's organization. And it's just wrong. We all know the story of Jesus in Matthew 8, when they brought a woman to be stoned to death because she was an adulteress. And what did Jesus say? Go, sin no more. I don't judge you.
Right. That's
So
what he said.
if Jesus wasn't willing to judge her, how can these elders, start judging people? they have a higher position than Jesus Christ.
Well, they think they do, but they don't.
Yeah, that's right. They think they
Yeah,
do.
they think they do.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I'd like to say, though, too, is in Israel, see, the witnesses, they cherry pick the scriptures and even the Bible. Deborah was a judge for the nation of Israel. She was a warrior for God. But you will never, ever hear Watchtower ever discuss about Deborah. Okay? Never. Mm-hmm. So they like to keep women, under their thumbs. I don't know how anybody can tolerate being abused like that. I really don't. I really don't. I know I couldn't put up with it, and I would never put up with it now.
You know what the crazy thing is with the abuse, Connie?
Yeah.
While me and my brothers and sisters were growing up, I mean, we have been beaten to the point where when I was little, like I said before, I took off my clothes to the school nurse to show her how abused we were. My father tried drowning my brother twice. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend over while this was going on, and she started throwing up because she'd never seen such violence.
Right.
One of my brothers was thrown out the back door. His mouth hit the cement barbecue pit that we had. They didn't take him to the dentist because they didn't want to tell how that happened to his jaw.
Oh, my word, Sharon.
They didn't want to tell the dentist. And then years later, when my brother was in his 20s and he went to the dentist, they told him, you broke the bottom part of your jaw, on the bottom where the teeth meet on the bottom jaw.
Yeah.
And his teeth broke when he hit that, and it healed wrong.
Oh my.
It didn't heal right. So, yeah. So even though we weren't sexually abused, I don't know if my other siblings were. I know I wasn't. But the physical abuse was right up there, too.
Yeah. And both your parents were JWs.
Thrown out of cars in the middle of Sunrise Highway. Wow. And my mother would come, make a circle. She would come back to, she did this to me a lot. She would come back to get me, and as I went to grab for the doorknob, she would take off again. This is in the median of Sunrise Highway, Route 27 in Suffolk County. So, yeah, it's a very, very horrible organization. And what I told you today with my kids, I don't know if I was being watched after that. Yeah, I could lose all my friends and so-called friends and the family that was in. I could lose them. But the relationship with my children, that has always been preserved. Because I didn't feel worthy enough to teach my children this horrible organization. Mm-hmm. Isn't that horrible? I didn't feel worthy of evil. So I wouldn't teach my children because I felt beneath it. And they didn't get the strong foundation that other kids got from their parents being in, where I relied on, elders' daughters or this teenager or that one to come study with my children because I didn't feel I was even worthy to speak the Watchtower to them. Wow. So I didn't bring anything up unless they were going to do something wrong. Oh, you can't do that. Jehovah wouldn't like that. But other than that, I didn't give them that strict structural foundation that my mother beat into myself and my siblings.
Right.
So my children never shunned me. Matter of fact, when they all woke up before the age of 20, they were the ones working on me to get me out.
Uh-huh. Wow. What a blessing in disguise.
Till December 5th, 2012 to wake up.
Yeah, what a blessing in disguise, Sharon. But you know what, honey? The thing is, you've always had a genuine, I can say this to the audience, of knowing you for about 11 years now, but you have a genuine love for truth and righteousness. That's what it is. You're a very, very authentic, honest person. I think that's why you and I get along so well. And, you know, when you really realize someone's lying to you or they're trying to pull a fast one, especially your whole life, my gosh, you know, you don't tolerate it. And you were in for 53 years. I would say pretty much, Sharon, your life is overall pretty good. I mean, you know, you're an author today. You do a tremendous amount of research.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can tell the audience about that. I think that's exciting.
You give me a subject, I research it till I'm practically dead researching it. I sent Connie. She didn't even know about the stuff that I sent her with the medical. When I research everything.
That's so cute. That is so cute. Yeah, I think that's great. That is just, and Sharon, I know she's being very humble, but she is a researcher into God's word. And boy, I tell you, I can ask her a question and she's like a walking encyclopedia. And that is no joke. I kid you not. So, you know, I found.
Oh, thank you.
It's like a real honor to know you, honey. I mean, because Watchtower only teaches and uses only, how many scriptures they use out of the whole Bible, Sharon? What was it? Watchtower?
130 scriptures out of 50,000.
Yep. There you go. And so the average JW really does not know the Bible. They really don't. We never studied the book of Amos. We never really studied, oh my God, Titus. We never opened up the book of Titus and studied that. Micah? No. Nope. They keep using the same scriptures over and over because they have their own agenda. And that's what it is. And what's really sad about this whole thing is, you know, Sharon, we've talked about this too, that, you know, Satan really loves disharmony. He loves chaos. He loves confusion. He loves division. And yet God loves harmony. He loves, you know, people to love one another, to be united. Satan cannot stand that. And when you look at the fruit of what happens in marriages and divorces and everything like that, but, you know, in the organization, you can see how the elders get in between even the husband and wife when they're going through issues. And, you know, they're playing like they're God, and they're dividing up marriages and breaking up families. And, you know, that's very demonic. It really, really is. And that's not right.
Yeah.
And the point I want to make, the point I wanted to make, Sharon, is
one of Eddie's cousins about because she was never JW, and I'm very close with her. Yeah. And we go back and forth talking about, you know, why I left. And, you know, I'll tell, I just heard from another person from my congregation, and they were confiding in me. I don't tell any names or anything that goes on, but she was telling me of this person that we both know, okay, because she was in the same school district as myself.
Yeah.
And she would go visit this one JW family that lived not too far from her, maybe a couple of houses over.
Right.
And she was allowed to go there and hang out with one of the daughters until they started Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
She told her mother that they were going to do Bible study, and her mother said, no, you can't go there anymore. So I was like, your mother looked out for you, trust me. So then it comes to the point that she's telling me, because I know exactly who she's talking about. This guy was going to leave the Watchtower, okay? Yeah. And he got struck by lightning. So he didn't leave. Okay?
Yeah.
Turns out he was molesting one of his daughters who had a mental breakdown, and a whole bunch of stuff happened with that family. But she goes on to tell me that he invited her down to the docks in Mauritius. This is where people would just go like down to hang out, make out, you know, stuff like that, drink beer, whatever.
Yeah.
He was only 8.
Yeah.
And he was going to take her to the docks.
Oh, boy.
And she said she got a really bad feeling in her stomach, so she ran home to her mother.
Yeah.
And then it came out about his daughter. This is years later. And she said, Sharon, I don't know, maybe he would have done something to me.
Yeah. It's an instinct.
Why did he take an 8-year-old down to the docks?
Right. Exactly.
And her father.
Right, right, exactly where it's secluded. Yeah, yeah, it's that
Yeah.
instant.
And in
It's
that same congregation, one of our elders and his sons, they were part of the I don't know if it was the Bananas, I don't know which family it was, but they had murdered somebody and they went to prison.
yeah,
One of our elders and the ministerial servant.
yep,
This was in Mastic Beach.
yep. Yeah, you've seen a lot, haven't you, Sharon?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the thing I was going to say, honey, I think what really breaks my heart, and it's a whole process, okay? I've been out 40 years, so I've had a lot of time to heal, and this show has definitely helped me. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I was going to say, what really breaks my heart is when I hear XJWs who are very angry, which, like I say, it's a journey, it's a process, but where they get to the point where they're absolutely angry with God. They hate God, they hate the Bible, they hate anything to do with God or the Bible. And I won't mention any
How it
names.
did their job.
I won't mention any names, but it's a very popular couple that's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I can only tolerate it for a while. And when we were talking about that, Sharon, what was your comment? I think you just said it right there. What was that? That Satan,
What did I just say?
that Satan really, he accomplished his purpose. Satan just accomplished his purpose.
Watchtower did its job.
Watchtower did its job. Exactly.
When you become a witness, when you leave, well, first of all, you're going to get scars no matter which way you determine to leave.
Right.
Either rashly, like I did, like in a huff and I'm out, or you've done the research, you're a chemo for a while, you can't take it, and then you leave. No matter which way you're going to go, you're going to get scars on your heart. You're going to. There's no way around it. You're going to be angry. You're going to go through the whole denial, anger, bargaining, all that. You're going to go through all of it.
Right.
Before you get to the last part of acceptance. So I
Right.
understand, the anger, because I will not go up to a witness. I won't, because I can't trust myself. So I won't go near them. I will expose them. I'll speak very loud. As you can tell, I do have a big mouth. I'm a big girl. I'm 6 feet, but yeah, I can't go up to them.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's so very, very sad, because especially if somebody has been born and raised in, I'd like to emphasize this point. That's the only belief system or the only ideology that they know of. They don't have anything else to compare it to, like Catholicism or Protestantism or whatever.
Right.
And
you
so,
know what it is too, Connie? When people leave, they're so burnt with, God this, God that, Jesus this, Jesus that, the Bible this, but they're so burnt out from being torn and twisted in every which way but loose because of what this organization has done to them.
Right.
They don't back up, take a deep breath, and say, first off, I'm free.
That's right.
It doesn't matter how you got to be free, you are free.
That's right.
Are you going to thank yourself and be miserable, or are you going to thank God you're out of there?
That's exactly right.
And now, what do you got planned for me? Because remember when I first did an interview with you, and I told you that when you leave the Watchtower, it's like an abused wife stepping out on the front stoop.
Oh, yeah.
And, okay, in front of her, she has a white stretch limo with a dozen roses coming from the Son of God. I want to help you get back to the way you should have been your whole life.
Right.
Loved. Okay?
Yeah.
Or you turn around and go back inside to what they did.
Right.
You return to the abuse behind you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they go back to
the stoop and say, okay, whatever happens, happens. Or do you purposely make that decision and walk down those stairs and get into that limo so you can be loved?
Right, honey. Well, that's it. A lot of times people are afraid. They don't know what's on the outside world. And Watchtower has so feared them, so greatly. And really, it's a great life. I mean, it's really a great life. Most people out in the world are basically working very, very hard. They're working on their education, their careers. They're trying to provide for themselves or their, husband and wife and their kids. They're trying to have a great life for themselves. And for the most part, a lot of them are very, very kind people. They're more genuine than a lot of witnesses, I'll tell you that. They're not all evil. Watchtower has everything black and white, and that's not the way the real world is. I've been out 40 years, okay? And so Watchtower will use that fear. Oh my God, if you leave Jehovah, where are you going to go? Well, who said I left Jehovah? I left the organization,
That's
but
right.
who said I left Jehovah?
Yeah. Maybe it's because they constantly equate the organization with their J God, that's why they hate God when they leave, because they hate the organization. They can't divorce it.
Right. They can't separate the issues, honey. And that's the thing about it. They can't. And Watchtower has their own spin, and they weaponize the Bible. They do. They weaponize the Bible.
Right.
They do not teach grace. They don't teach mercy, and
No.
they really don't teach about, Jesus Christ and his genuine love for mankind. Their whole teachings is, look up to the governing body members, and we'll do all the thinking for you, and your salvation is in us. Well, no, it's not. It never was. You just believe that.
I hate this organization. I loathe it with a passion.
Yeah.
And it's not so much as what happened to me growing up. It's because I lost my youngest to brain cancer. Okay.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, everybody who I knew, my family, my so-called friends, they murdered my daughter before the cancer did. Because the moment I woke up, they all treated her as she was dead, because I was dead. I could accept me being dead. Mm-hmm. I knew the decision I was making, and I didn't care.
Right.
Let's treat her that way.
Right. See, that's what I'm
very much alive.
That's what I'm saying, honey. That's what I'm saying about there's no love in this organization, and it's hypocritical. No. It's hypocritical. You have to be in it for a period of time before you can really see that, because what did Jesus say? You will know my disciples by the love they have among themselves. There is no love. There isn't. So why waste your time with an organization that's not even Christian? And then when you do the research, they're a corporation. Even Ray France said in his book, Crisis of Conscience, it's a corporation.
Right.
So why are you putting all your trust in a business corporation?
Yeah. And, I know some people might, not think that I'm telling the truth here or whatever, but Connie, I know the Father exists, because 2 weeks before I lost my daughter, and she woke up that one morning, and I didn't give her medications yet, and she told me to look at the floor because it was mud. It opened up. I got really scared for her, and I said a silent prayer that I didn't tell anybody until the end of that day, because I wanted to make sure it was going to be answered by the person I was speaking to, person in my heart. Okay? And I said, Father, I can't do this. If she belongs to your son, send somebody who can wake her up, because she was so angry at God, because she lost her husband 2 years ago. He killed himself because he didn't want to see her pass. And, here she was losing her life. And I didn't tell anybody anything. And then I get a phone call like 2 hours later, and it's from this woman 90 miles away that I never met. Didn't know who this lady was. And she said she had to come pray with my daughter. And she did. And my daughter was gray and ashy.
Oh, yeah.
And she glowed from that moment on. She glowed.
And you did not know this woman at all?
Before my daughter left us. Huh?
You did not know this woman at all?
No. And matter of fact, the following month, January 9th, we went to Long Island to do her celebration of life because that's where all the family is up there.
Yeah.
And that was when I found out that this woman who drove 90 miles was at the very moment I was saying that prayer. My daughter's best friend was crying to this woman. It was her boss's mother who just happened to walk into the deli in Wilmington, North Carolina. And she told her the whole story about what was going on. And that's when that woman called me.
Wow.
And I didn't know this until January 9th. My
Wow.
daughter passed on Christmas Eve, 24th.
Well, and the point is that God answered your prayer.
Yes.
You left the organization and God still loved you because he could read your heart, that you're such a beautiful person and have a love for truth and righteousness. And he loves you. And excuse me, he answered your prayer. Now, Watchtower would never acknowledge that. Okay. I was mauled by two pit bulls.
That's why I said a silent prayer, and I told nobody. Nobody knew until that evening when the day was over.
Well, I was going to say I had an experience with, I had shared with you before. I had been out of the organization about 15 years at this point, and I was mauled by two pit bulls one night. I was almost killed by them. They were like a pack of wolves. And all I could say is, Jehovah, please help me. Because nobody, absolutely nobody in my neighborhood came to my rescue. And instantly, it was like an angel came down and totally released her. She was on my breast. I think she was trying to go for my neck, but she was on my breast. It was a male and a female. And anyway, and it was like she just totally dropped and then turned around where the other pit bull was. And they just totally walked away and never came back and growled or anything. And I was able to get up my 12 steps to my front door.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there is a tremendous amount of power of prayer, and I do believe that God
Absolutely.
hears it. There's no doubt about it, you know. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Absolutely not. Same thing with you, Sharon. Same thing with Rich as well.
Yeah, I had an experience, but it's really getting late. I don't really care about the hour for us, but the fact is, I think Gilbert has probably been waiting in the wings for at least a half hour, maybe even an hour.
Well, can we open it up to maybe a few questions
Yeah,
or comments or
absolutely.
whatever?
And maybe Sharon would be willing to come on in another 2 weeks and we can finish this up.
It's up to her if she's
That'll work for me.
okay.
All right,
Sounds good.
Done deal.
Well, let's open it up to. We've talked about a lot of, I think, some great topics tonight, and I'd love to hear anyone if you'd like to star 6. we would love to have your calls. My husband's sneezing here. Anybody would like to call in? It doesn't matter. First time caller, it doesn't matter. Anybody. Star 6. No? Everybody's quiet tonight? Wow. Because it's about 12 midnight here on the East Coast. So we'd like to give you an opportunity.
Too.
Yeah. Sharon's on the East Coast too. Yeah.
Hi.
I remember you from this show.
Hi there.
Awesome.
I love having you on this show, and we just miss having you on the show, and we're happy to welcome you back.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Is this Dallas?
Yes,
Yes.
it is. That's what I hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dallas, so much for calling in. I recognize your voice.
I just like it. I've been typing up so much, but just I go experience things too in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, we thank you so much for listening in and chiming in tonight. We're trying to help people to wake up and, really realize what this organization is about. And like Sharon said, do your research because you can't deny it. Once you do the research and you realize what really is going on in this organization, you can understand why so many people are leaving. And that's great. There's nothing like being free. Huh, Sharon?
Absolutely.
I mean, who wants to be in
You're not
bondage
kidding.
and darkness? You know, life can be so great. It's your choice. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, do your research, but
Mhm.
do it with prayer.
Yes.
The Holy Spirit will come to you and you'll be able to discern what is real and what is false.
Pray for discernment.
There you go.
That's really important.
Well, I think we're going to close it down now. We're a little after 12. We're probably an hour over.
No, honey, we're not
What?
an hour.
A half hour?
No, it's not even 12. It's almost a minute before. We're good. We're good. We're good. So
Well, what time does Gilbert come on?
about 12.
I thought he came on at 10:30.
No,
Oh.
honey, we didn't start till 10. We didn't start the show till 10.
All right. Fine.
Okay. So Sharon, we wanted to say thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Oh, you're welcome, Connie. Thanks for asking me.
Yes, well, you know, you have so much experience and you know, the real testimonies and so forth is information that I think a lot of people can really, truly benefit from. So we wanted to say thank you so
Yeah.
very much. And if, I'm not sure, honey, if
I think
Rick is,
that's one of the best shows you've done.
oh,
Well,
thank you,
you.
Pixie. Thank you.
I do have a question before she goes.
Yeah.
Years ago, I was at the Edison laboratory, and Edison himself designed that kind of box. Now, I don't want one, but I want to know how old the one was she saw, and maybe it was what Edison made.
Oh, goodness. It was from around just after the turn of the century. Just after.
Well, I'm thinking that was an Edison product because Russell was, you know, he used some of Edison's first camera equipment to make his film.
Yeah.
And when I was at the Edison museum, I said, "What is that other box?" And the woman says, "Oh, well, that's to talk with the spirits of the dead." I said, "Well, I don't want that." I said, "Does it work?"
Yeah.
And she wouldn't tell me.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was either 1917 or 18. It was just after the war.
Well, then that's an Edison spirit box.
Wow, that's interesting. And
Wow,
we have
there's
that
nothing on it, and I don't
He had
even
the
want to go there.
patent.
But it was on display in his lab.
Oh my God.
That's
And
interesting.
exactly the way I described it was just the front part, just a circle. There was no knobs or nothing.
Yeah.
My God.
You know what that is? That's a demon box right there.
Well, that's fine.
Is
But
that right?
designed by Edison.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
You know, if Rick is there, we'd like to ask Rick what there was a certain name he called it. Rick, are you on there? Can you hear us?
I'm right here, Constance. Can you hear me?
Okay, honey, thank you. Sharon had said that you called that angel box or spirit box by a different name. Do you remember what you called it?
It's the radionics box.
Yes, it is.
Radionics. Wow.
Radionics?
Radionics?
Wow, I'm gonna write that down.
But when I was at the Edison Museum, that's what the woman told me, that he designed it to talk to spirits.
Yeah.
No way.
That's what they told me at the Edison Museum.
Yeah.
You just gave me goosebumps. Oh my God. I am just loaded with goosebumps right now. Oh, you gave me the heebie-jeebies. Oh my God.
And it was inside the Kingdom Hall. Wow.
Did it plug in? Did you
That
have
wasn't
to,
well.
No. Only one person would pick it up because it was so light.
There's nothing to plug in.
so that there was nothing in the box?
No, there was no plug. They would stick it right in front of where the you know, the podium where the microphone was. They would stick it right in front of there, right in front of it.
And there were no components inside whatsoever. Like I said, you can go on Amazon.
Thing.
Amazon has
Well,
them.
back to Russell's stuff that he was doing.
Yeah, you can go on Amazon. I'm not suggesting to buy it, but you can go on Amazon, look up angel box or spirit box, and they'll show it to you. You can buy them. I wouldn't
Well,
suggest
that
buying
was
them.
interesting too, because I had wondered. I mean, with the new age and everything, you'd think they'd have it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you
yeah.
want people to sleep with their head facing north because of the magnetic pull of the North Pole.
Oh, I've heard that for years.
Yeah, and don't forget, if they had a big nose, you know, they were good with spiritual matters.
Oh, I didn't never
You
hear
had a
that.
small nose because you couldn't do judicial decisions with a small nose.
That's new to me. I learned
You're not supposed to cook with aluminum. Remember that?
I think you might have been right about don't use aluminum cookware. I have stainless steel, but
Oh, that's good. Good for you, Pixie. Stay away from
I
Alzheimer's.
don't really use aluminum cookware much.
Yeah.
And mankind could never get beyond the Earth's atmosphere.
You're correct about the watchtowers,
Yes.
but that's only in the very esoteric high magic. They use that for the north, south, east, and west.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a demonic ceremony.
I've been trying to find a connection between Russell's group way back and Golden Dawn, between Millennial Dawn and Golden Dawn. And I had a paperback. I had a flood and I lost a bunch of stuff. But I had a paperback that was a occult book of Golden Dawn. And you remember how Russell said the ministers all sent presents?
Presents?
That was noted in this 1890s Golden Dawn reprint.
Wow.
And that's the only link that I could find between Golden Dawn in the lodge that William Butler Yeats was in and Millennial Dawn. But I'm like, goodness. If that link's there, maybe some other links were there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. Watchtower is not squeaky clean. That's for darn sure. They have a lot of occult roots. That's for darn sure. And people who are involved in that love to sacrifice children.
Yeah, Masonic roots too.
I met some people long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
maybe if I come to Massachusetts, I'll chat with you guys.
That'd be nice. We'll meet you up there.
Oh yeah, Pixie, for the conference. Yeah, we'd love to meet you in person.
Yeah, we're getting up there a couple of days early. So just
I understand they have a very good art gallery in Boston as well. Top of the
they do.
Top of the art galleries.
There's a lot to see in Boston.
Yeah, if you're into, U.S. history, it's a good place to go.
Yeah.
Well, I live in that, so I would be interested in comparing notes to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of live in 1749 some of the time.
That's cute.
We'll have to take it down to Salem.
Living in now, but
yeah, we'd have to take it down to Salem.
I slept in a house from 1759 more than once.
That's cute.
Yeah, we had the witch trials down
in
here.
Salem.
Yeah, at the end of the 17th century.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a tourist town to beat all tourist towns, from what I understand.
Well, you ought to go there on Halloween. Wow.
Oh man,
that would be fun.
I can only imagine. Wow. Yeah.
I used to live very near. I used to live in Matthews.
Matthews, Massachusetts?
No. Where Dick used to live? Weren't you near Matthews?
You didn't live near Matthews. No.
I grew up in Dracut. I lived in the next town over from Rick. I lived in Haverhill. Rick lived in Tewksbury.
Didn't you live in North Carolina, though, at one point?
Oh, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did in New Bern, right on the ocean. I had a house on the ocean.
I could probably see your house from Matthews.
Well, I didn't live there long enough to know the surroundings. So.
John and Yoko used to live in New Bern.
They did? Right? Wow. Well, who was it? Was it Coca-Cola or who was it, Rich, that they're known
Pepsi.
for? Pepsi's out there in New Bern.
That was the foundation of Pepsi.
Yeah.
Or we get to start.
Right.
It was in New Bern, North Carolina.
Pixie, did you get hit by Hurricane Helene or were you okay?
No, because I'm in Virginia now, so I'm not.
Yeah, well, so is Sharon.
North Carolina.
Yeah, I know, but so is Sharon.
Pixie.
Oh.
We just moved here in June.
Oh, where are you at?
I'm over by, not Roanoke, but Danville.
Oh, Danville's wonderful.
And Bassett, Collinsville. Yeah, that's the area I'm in.
It's very nice there. Beautiful houses.
Yes, it's very nice here. Hills, but it's very nice.
That's so cute.
Well, you're probably missing the fish from Long Island.
Pretty much, yeah.
We have coastal fish, though. If you get to the Virginia coast, you got all the fish shops you could want for fresh fish.
Oh, nice.
There's all kinds of seafood restaurants. Virginia Beach is a wonderful family beach as well.
Oh, very nice.
So
very nice.
If you feel like you want a fish dinner, go to Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Do they have weak fish, do you know, or not?
Virginia has fish that no other place has. People come from all over the world just to eat our fish.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, ladies, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. I know it's about 10 minutes after midnight here, and I'm sure the next hosts are probably waiting, but thank you so much. Sharon, thank you so much for coming on. Pixie and Dallas, we appreciate everybody's calls and input. We hope that you were able to benefit and learn something new from Sharon and our discussion tonight. And Sharon, we'll have you on in 2 more weeks, huh?
Sounds good. Maybe I can focus on one thing, because you know me, Connie, I'm all over the place.
I'll remind you, Eddie. Oh. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you. We're going to say goodnight and close down.
Yep. Good night, everybody. And
okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye now. Love you
Rick,
too, sweetheart.
It's all yours.
Well, very good program. Very good program. We want to thank Sharon too. Sharon, great program. You do a good job. Thank you for exposing the Watchtower. We really appreciate it, Sharon. So let's go to Gilbert Gonzalez and his brother Jesse, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. So let's go over now. Let's see if we can't. We're going to end this program. Let's end this first. And we'll put that into the archives. And thank you for coming in to Dick and Constance program tonight. We appreciate your presence. So we'll end it here. And now we're going to go to Gilbert Gonzalez and Jesse out in Phoenix